Good morning to one and all present here. I am now happy to welcome on behalf of management of St. Mother Teresa Engineering College, principal, HOD, staff and students. I am happy to welcome everybody present here. First of all, I thank Lord Almighty for giving me this opportunity for conducting this webinar and providing the welcome address. Next, I am happy to welcome our distinguished resource person, Dr. S.G. Bharatidasan sir. He has graduated his BE degree in 99, ME degree in 2002, and PhD in 2014 in the area of power system. He has published more than 20 research papers in Scopus indexed journals. He is an expert in the area of smart grid, power grids, and various areas of power systems. He is now presently working as associate professor in Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Sri Perumbudur, Chennai, and has a rich teaching and industrial experience of totally 18 years. With such a resource person, I am happy to have such a resource person for this occasion of webinar. Also, I welcome all the participants in and around India. Now, I hand over the session to Dr. S.G. Bharatidasan sir. Sir, it is a time for your presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I hand over the session to Bharatidasan sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear faculty members and friends, I am very happy to meet you all in this webinar lecture on an overview on Indian power grid and market. First of all, I thank the management of St. Mother Teresa Engineering College, Tuticorin, for this wonderful opportunity. And I congratulate Professor S. Ebenezer Praveen, Kachuri Tripli, and Professor Ayyappa Sinivasan and other coordinators for arranging this excellent webinar lecture during this lockdown period. Thank you for the nice introduction also. With this, we will start our webinar lecture. This webinar lecture will give an overview of Indian power grid and market, present and future. So we will just see the past of the Indian power market and what is going on at present, and in future, what are the way ahead and hurdles are there in our way. So in that way, this lecture will be going on, and most of the references are from Ministry of Power websites and Economic Times and Indian newspapers. You can continue your reading to improve your knowledge in this area. Let us start the presentation now. Indian power grid and market, an overview. So the presentation overview is like this. We will see about Indian power grid. First of all, installed capacity, mode wise and sector wise, and AT&C losses, then performance of state power utilities, and a rating of state power utilities based on certain strategy framed by central government. And second part is government initiatives and reforms in last decade. That means last 10 years, 2010 to 2020. And Indian power market structure and performance, how the Indian power market has been built up, and how the structure is now being modified, and what is the heart of the Indian power market, that is Indian Energy Exchange Limited, and in which what are the strategies we are following. So that will be explained in this section. And last section, it deals with the total Indian power market current situation, and for the current situation and the effects. For the effects, what will be the remedy action? So that the recommendations given by CERC, Central Electricity Commission, and then India's power market development in the year 2018, and major government initiatives and CRC initiatives and way forward hurdles, conclusion and references are given. So Central Electricity Regulatory Commission recommendations are very, very important in this Indian power market. Okay, so this slide shows the installed capacity in overall India, and there are 5 different grids: northern grid, western grid, southern grid, eastern grid, northeastern grid, and apart from that we have some islands also, Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep, like that. And in all throughout India, what is the range of installed capacity we have? That is state-wise, we have the capacity of nearly 103 gigawatt, and private sector 173 gigawatt. Central government it has 93 gigawatt. Totally 370 gigawatt of installed capacity we have in India as on 31st 5 2020. And in this slide itself, I want to emphasize. You see, if you add state sector and central sector contribution together, you will get the private sector contribution in the overall country. That means private sector has come up a lot in last 10 years, so that they are contributing more for power generation. So next one is, that is what indicated here, and in particular southern region, Andhra, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, NLC, Puducherry. So by combining these states, they frame a southern region, southern grid, and in which total power installed capacity is 112 gigawatt, and in particular private sector is 59 gigawatt, and Tamil Nadu in particular, it has 32 gigawatt installed capacity, and in which state owned 7 gigawatt and private sector owned 19 gigawatt, and then central government generation corresponding to 6.2 gigawatt. So that is the thing I want to show in this installed capacity table. And next one, what are the renewable energy sources available in the grid? So in which wind power 37 gigawatt almost installed in the country, and solar power is equally dominating, 35 megawatt is installed in the country totally, including small hydropower and biopower. So as a renewable energy source outcome, 87 gigawatt is there. So as a conclusion, fuel, that is thermal, coal, lignite, gas, diesel, conventional power plants, they play an important role, and particularly thermal power plant, it plays an important role. 62.8 percentage generation is coming from thermal power plant, and notably renewable energy sources are giving 23.6 percentage power generation out of our 370 gigawatt. So this is taken from Executive Summary on Power Sector, May 2020, Central Electricity Authority, Ministry of Power. And installed capacity sector wise, as I told earlier, state sector it gives 103 gigawatt, and central sector it gives only 93 gigawatt, but private sector almost 173 gigawatt we have. So if you go with percentage, nearly 46.9 percentage of 370 gigawatt is given by private sector. So this lot of private companies are involving in power production in last 10 to 15 years. So this is an important point for developing the Indian power market. And next slide shows your ATC losses, that is aggregate technical and commercial losses. We normally use the term T&D losses, transmission losses, and that is a different figure, and it is shown for the last 6 years. So recently 2018-19 it was 20.66 percentage ATC losses, but ATC T&D losses, but ATC losses 18.19 percentage, but government says that it has to be reduced below 15 percentage. Still a lot of utilities are trying for that. And installed capacity growth based on a 5th year plan. So end of 6th year, 7th plan, 8th plan, 9th plan. So almost we crossed 12th plan also, 12th 5-year plan. So now 370, we are at 370 gigawatt installed capacity, and that is what shown here. And that split up is given in terms of fuel, right? Already we discussed in the table form. Okay, so this is the current scenario of power grid. Now, how to assess the performance of state power distribution utilities? State power distribution utilities. I think you know power generation, transmission, and distribution. There are three areas in power network, and almost many of the states they have gone for privatization of these three areas. And in Tamil Nadu also, Tangetco is framed and Transco is framed. And central government has framed certain rules and regulations for assessing the state power distribution utilities performance. So that is what given here. Ministry of Power had formulated an integrated rating methodology, and that is started from July 2012 for evaluating performance of state power distribution utilities on a range of parameters covering operational, financial, regulatory, and reform parameters. The rating exercise is carried out on an annual basis and presently covers 41 state distribution utilities. So in our India, we have totally 41 state distribution utilities spread across 22 states. And ICRA and CARE, these two limiteds are designated for giving credit rating agencies, have been assigned for 21 and 20 utilities respectively. So that is what shown here. 41 utilities are there. 41 utilities are there totally, and out of 41 utilities, 21 utilities are given for ICRA and 20 utilities given for CARE, and they are going to give. They were assessing the performance of state distribution utilities, and they are given the grade. And how they given the grade? That is based on these parameters. How the operational and reform parameters are implemented, and ATC losses, power purchase, cost efficiency, reform related performance, external parameters, financial parameters, and other things. So totally they have given marks for each and every category. So collectively it comes to 100. So based on that, like we are giving grades for students, right? A plus A, B plus B, C plus C, like that. Between 80 and 100, A plus, 65 and 80, A. That means A plus means very high operational and financial performance capability, and A means high operational and financial performance capability. B plus moderate operational, B below average, C plus low operational, and C very low operational. So these kind of ratings, grades have been developed, and this was given for each state power utilities. So that is what shown here. Totally 41 state power utilities are there, and for each of them individually one grade is assigned. So A plus A, B plus B, C plus C, like that. And that is what shown here in previous slide. Number of utilities they are having A plus in our India is 7, and number of utilities that have A grade is 9, and the number of utilities that have B plus, that totally 9 utilities, and number of utilities they have B grade, that is 8. So likewise it goes on. So particularly for Tamil Nadu Generation and Distribution Corporation Limited, Tangetco, they obtained B grade. So that report is given in this slide. Based on that, based on the assessment, they are given the key strengths of Tangetco: relatively low AT and C losses levels, 18.49 in the year 2018. Receivable days have remained consistently low and stood at 39 days of financial year 2018. And then key concerns, some of the concerns are listed out, and key actionables, they are also given. So these kind of assessment will be giving a meaning for the performance of state power utilities. So you can easily understand how far they are operating, and what are the struggles, what are the hurdles against them. And next one, government initiatives and reforms. So just now, till now we have seen about the Indian power grid scenario and state power distribution utilities. Now, what are the government initiatives and reforms taken up in the last 10 years? Actually, before 10 years, our power sector was in poor condition, and then we had a lot of industrial growth also. So, government has a slew of reforms that are ripe for implementing to shore up India's teetering power sector. First term, there is there. Let us say that in last 10 years, first 5 years, first term is the government initiatives are otherwise. In other words, government has given importance for first one, providing electricity connections to all houses, power for all, and the second initiative is aiming to deploy 175 gigawatt of new renewable energy capacity, by 2022. So let us recollect the figure what we have seen in the table. Nearly 87 gigawatt is coming out from renewable energy sources, right? In the current year, that is up to May 2020. But what is our aim? Aim is on achieving 170 gigawatt of production by the year 2022. And third one is, it's a very important move to enact the Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, Uday. Most of the private industries, they are very much happy about the implementation of this Uday, because it's a reform meant to improve the technical and financial performance of cash-strapped state-owned utilities. Cash-strapped state-owned utilities, DISCOMs. So as we all know, most of the states are giving free power and they are not able to come out with good profit, and even they are not able to run the company. So this Uday gives defined rules and regulations for for the distribution utilities to come out from the hurdles. And to explain the first point, providing electricity connections to all houses, and the first table, that is power for all. Power for all, as per us on 28 April 2018, all villages have been electrified. So that is a declaration given by the government, and those villages are identified as per the census 2011. And what is called as, how to define the electrification of a village means, that is also given there. A village would be declared electrified if basic infrastructure such as distribution transformer, distribution lines are provided in the inhabited locality, as well as Dalit Basti hamlet where it exists. Number two, electricity is provided to public places like school, panchayat office, healthcare, dispensaries, community centers. Number three, the number of households electrified should be at least 10% of total power household. Number four, mandatory certification from Gram Panchayat. So if these four points are fulfilled, then they can say that that particular village is fully electrified. So as per this definition and as per the census on 2011, they declared that all the villages are electrified by the year 2018, 100%. And the next slide shows the growth of rural electrification. That is, after 12th fifth year plan, nearly 6 lakhs villages are totally electrified, and then pump sets energized are 2 crores. So this is the agenda. This is the first point in your agenda, in the government's agenda in the first term, that is providing power for all. So that is completed. And government initiatives and reforms next term, that is second term, that is last 5 years. First term initiatives were not aimed at altering the structure and operation of Indian electricity market as it exists today. The first first term objectives, they played with, they are aiming at giving full power, for the village, and they are not concentrating on Indian, structure and operation reforms of Indian electricity market. So second term initiatives were defined for that, and second term initiatives are: number one, 100-day action plan to re-energize and address structural issues affecting India's power sector. And the second one is forming a power sector council. Forming a power sector council to synchronize and resolve central government versus state issues that are common in the country's power sector. So most probably, in most cases, there will be a tie in the problem between central government and state government. So for that, they provide a solution, that is forming the power sector council. Power sector council, and to synchronize and resolve central government versus state issues. Some of the issues, for example, such as compliance with the central government guidelines for tariff rationalization, central government guidelines for tariff rationalization, and some issues related to reductions in aggregate and technical losses, and some issues related with renewable energy purchase obligations. So, like these issues, so many issues are available in practical. So to solve them, they formed one power sector council. And third one is creation of National Power Distribution Company. National Power Distribution Company that can help ensure quality around the clock electricity to all households in the next 5 years. So these are the very important objectives or initiatives given by the central government, and this worked very well, and we are on the way. Now we are moving with Indian power market. That is, till now we explained about the Indian power scenario with typical figures, and then government initiatives and reforms that have been taken up in the last 10 years, and now the structure of Indian power market, and what is the operation of Indian power market, and what is the performance of Indian power market in the last year. Finally, what are the future of Indian power market, and then finally what are the hurdles and conclusion. So in that way, this presentation is planned. Indian power markets. So for that purpose only, Electricity Act 2003 has been framed. Actually, in India, Electricity Supply Act by 1948 and Indian Electricity Act 1910 was followed for a longer time, and that is reformed, re-evaluated, and it leads to the Electricity Act 2003, which has been brought about to facilitate private sector participation to complement cash constrained State Electricity Board, SEB. So as we all know, most of the states are not able to come up because of the money crisis. So as a solution for this, a lot of private companies are given license to start the power generation. So that is what the important move made in 2003. So the act envisages transmission towards a competitive electricity market structure in India. So I think you know the basics of this subject, that is deregulated power system. That is a regulated power system, deregulated power system. That means earlier generation, transmission, distribution, these things are owned by one particular owner, that is called as state. Now they are now privatized, say the generation or transmission or distribution. So that regulated power system is now deregulated, right? Vertically integrated system is provided. Now it is a deregulated power system, and this leads to a competitive electricity market structure in India. And this is the electricity market structure in India, 2003 June enactment of Electricity Act. 2006 CERC issues staff paper on power exchange. So for that they framed, once the Indian power market structure is framed, then they built up the structure of power exchange. What is a power exchange? And in that aspect only, Indian Energy Exchange Limited is framed, and what are the responsibilities? That's what we are going to see now. And next slide. So this is the approximate structure of market. Genco 1, Genco 2, n number of Gencos will be there, m number of Gencos will be there, and there will be a power exchange or independent system operator, n number of consumers will be there. So those m number of generators, they are able to generate more power based on their capacity, and instead of selling directly to the consumer, they are giving the bids to power exchange. And the consumer, how much power they want, at what price they want, everything. They constrain, everything will be given to power exchange. And power exchange will give the suitable solution for each consumer. And this will be profitable for generators also, and this will be profitable for consumers also. So beneficial for consumer also, right? So in that way, this Indian market structure is framed. And what is the advantage of power exchange? If you have power exchange in a country, nationwide voluntary access can be done easily. E-trading you can do, no counterparty risk, no counterparty risk, and robust platform, delivery based contract will be done. And power exchange. What is a power exchange? Power exchanges have evolved rapidly to complement and supplement the needs of wholesale power market in a transparent and efficient manner. As we discussed in the previous slide, power exchange will dictate the correct solution for giving power to the corresponding consumer by the generator. So n number of generators are participating in the market, n number of consumers are there in the market. How to give a suitable solution, that is, consumer has to satisfy with the uh, uninterrupted power as well as provision of power at lower cost. At the same time, generators has to be satisfied with the profit. So these things will be done by power exchange. And when the power exchange was started in India, it had only initial low volumes and high prices. But after 6 years of operation, markets are now more efficient, liquid, and promote investment as well as better utilization of natural resources. And in that aspect, Indian Energy Exchange Limited has been uh, framed, and as the power exchange with the maximum volume and largest participation, has played an important role in furthering the objectives of Electricity Act 2003 by enhancing competition, implementing open access through realization of impact of delicensing of generation. And this is the slide which shows the Indian Energy Exchange Limited advantages. Performance as well as the plus points. So first point is, it is a fast growing sector and conducive government policies. Fast growing sector and conducive government policies. Second one, India's first and largest power exchange. So as in the first point, government is aiming at 24/7 power for all, and increasing power surplus to drive short-term power market. So these objectives are possible only through this power exchange. Next one is India's first and largest power exchange. So nearly dominant market share, 98% of traded volumes are in India in DAM, that is day ahead market, DAM and REC combined. Then third one, efficient price discovery and flexibility. Efficient price discovery and flexibility means finding a suitable price, right, that is affordable to consumer as well as profitable to the generator. And fourth one, diverse participant base ensuring liquidity. Greater than 5,800 registered participants, including all distribution companies, greater than 400 electricity generators, and greater than 3,800 industry commercial consumers across the country. Fifth one, rapidly growing trade volumes. Nearly 40,528 million unit contracts and 4.62 million unit renewable energy certificates are in the year 2017, and with 4-year CAGR of 15.4. What is CAGR? Compound annual growth rate. So it is a successful energy exchange. Last one, robust and scalable technology. Though it is handling only 5,800 participants at present, it is able to handle up to 1 lakh participants at a time. So it is a very powerful energy exchange, and that is dominating in India in power contract solutions. This is a market structure of Nord Pool Europe. So almost our Indian electricity market is following this structure. So that is what given here. Long-term PPAs, that is power purchase agreement, day ahead scheduling, then intra-day bilateral contract, then real-time balancing through UI, unscheduled interchange, and load setting. So IEX or RLD, load dispatch, regional load dispatch center, and they provide a day ahead scheduling, upper price capacity on UE congestion charges. So one by one we will explain. And some of the parameters, features of IEX. So IEX, Indian Energy Exchange Limited, participation, market offering, bidding type, real-time balancing market, pricing rule, pricing type, risk management, congestion management, transmission loss, time blocks. Right? That is participation. It is a voluntary participation. Market offering, day ahead or spot marketing. Bidding type, either single-sided or double-sided, or unilateral or bilateral. Real-time balancing market, UI charges. Then pricing rule, zonal pricing method, pricing type, ex ante method, risk management, bilateral OTC, and congestion management, area splitting, transmission loss to be purchased by the participants, time blocks, hourly blocks. So these are the features of IES we have to fix up always. And in each country, first of all, power exchange features will be defined. So here some meaning for some of the terms are given. Contracts can be unilateral or bilateral. What is unilateral contract? Only the offeror has an obligation. In a bilateral contract, both parties agree to an obligation. Typically, bilateral contracts involve equal obligation from the offerer and offeree. Unilateral and bilateral. Then, what is DAM, day ahead market? What is DAM, term ahead market? And what is DAC, day ahead contingency? What is OTC, over the counter market? So some of the terminologies are used in this figure. Indian power market development trend model. Model, it goes like this. In the next slide, model goes like this. So earlier we had only single buyer and seller, then multi buyer and seller, then OTC market. What is OTC market? Here you can refer over the counter market. It is a decentralized market in which market participants trade commodities directly between two parties without a central exchange or broker. Over the counter market do not have physical location. Instead, trading is conducted electronically. So like our share market, right? If you have a computer, that is enough. Then we can, generator and the consumer, they can exchange the power electronically. And this is a very different from auction market system. So auction market system that was followed in the first part, that is single buyer and seller, multi buyer and seller. But OTC market system, it is different from auction market, and it goes towards spot trading on exchanges. Spot market. Now spot market, what is spot market? It is like a cash market. Financial commodities are transacted for instantaneous delivery. It contrasts with a future market in which distribution or delivery is moved to at a later date. Okay. So Indian power market present status. There may be a long-term contract or medium-term contract or short-term contract. What is long-term? Up to 25 years. So that means up to 25 years, one generator can supply a particular consumer, that type of contract. Medium-term contract from 3 months to 3 years we can do. Short-term contract, intraday 3 months, intraday to 3 months contract we can do. And this is called as power purchase agreements. And as we discussed earlier, OTC, right? Over the counter market. And OTC also can also performed in different exchanges: intraday, DAM, DAC, daily, weekly. And balancing market, that is called as a real-time market. And the UI charges, unscheduled interchange charges. What is that unscheduled interchange charges? So in India, we are following some grid code, that is 48.5 to 50.5 frequency has to be maintained, and if it is below 48.5 or above 50.5, then they will be penalized. Similarly for voltage, 49.5, it is not 48.5. And similarly for voltage, so plus or minus 5% is allowed, so that comes under unscheduled interchange. And contingency analysis. What is contingency analysis? If any violations are there because of the power transfer from one place to other place, then that should be accounted. So that is called as contingency analysis. That is overloading of transmission lines during the power transfer. So in that aspect, Indian power market present status, day ahead market, it's nothing but delivery for the next day. Intraday market or day ahead contingency, delivery within the same day or another window for next day. That is day ahead contingency means for the next day, what may be the contingency that has the chance of occurring. Intraday on the same day, what is the power flow and what about the performance. Term ahead market, it may be for delivery up to 11 days, 3 hours to 11 days. And right hand side you can see the symbol. If you uh, see the symbol of that is crossing to curves, that is called as action oriented. AUCTION, action oriented. And if you see the arrow marks, that is continuous uh, marketing, continuous process marketing. So renewable energy certificate, energy saving certificate. So these are the 5 different components of Indian power market. And IEX volume growth, it from the year 2009 up to 2018, the amount of million units, that is generation, handled, that means amount of generation, it is given to the consumer, that is in contract, that has been increasing continuously. So IEX plays an important role as a power exchange, as an independent system operator, and its CAGR, compound annual growth rate, is 38%. Next, product segments, as we already dictated: day ahead market, term ahead market, renewable energy certificate. Day ahead market, trade for the following day, and for contracts for every 15 minutes closed action. And term ahead market from 3 hours to 11 days. 4 types of contracts are there: intraday, day ahead contingency, daily, weekly. So let us see about day ahead market. Brief introduction. Features of DAM. For that, a closed double-sided and anonymous action for each 15 minutes time block for the following day. And the intersection between aggregated sale and purchase curve defines the market clearing price. And throughout India, 13 bid area has been defined. Congestion management through market splitting and determining area clearing price specific to an area. And bid type is defined, minimum bid is quoted, and minimum price volume step is given. So out of these points, it's very important. Bid areas are defined in India, so that is shown in the figure, and how to fix up, how to close the contract, how to close the contract, that is given in this algorithmic flow. So first, in a day ahead market, bidding is started 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Bids for 15 minutes each or block bids can be placed morning 10 to 12. And between 12 to 1, and market clearing price and market clearing volume calculated, matching. That is, so many, bids are nothing but action bids. So m number of generators are there and n number of consumers are there. So you'll get bidding price from generators. That is how much price they are fixing for giving 1 megawatt, for giving 10 megawatt, like that. And the same bidding price will be got from the consumer, at what price they want to purchase. And these biddings will be matched up, and the market clearing price or market clearing volume have been calculated. The second stage. Third stage, review corridor and funds availability. Then result, final area clearing volume, area clearing price is calculated. Market splitting if congestion is there. So when you find a suitable solution, that is, you say P number generator is supplying your X number consumer, right? Pth generator supplies your X consumer. So this solution should not make harm for other lines, and that will be found out only through contingency analysis, right? And that will be done in the fourth stage. Fifth stage, confirmation, whether you want to get the power now through this path or not, like that. Collective transaction confirmation by National Load Dispatch Center. If it is okay, then final schedule will be sent to Regional Load Dispatch Center for incorporation. So this is the algorithm for day ahead market trading. So this is more interesting. How they are fixing, how they are closing the contract, closing the requirement. That is, one curve you can see there, demand bid curve, and another curve you can see that supply bid curve. If these two curves are meeting together at a point, that is called as market clearing price. Most of the time, they will wait for market clearing price. If market clearing price is given for the generator, then they will be more happy. Normally, they will achieve some profit with respect to that market clearing price. So finding market clearing price is the main task here. So at the stage of 2, right, 2 matching, MCP and MCV has to be calculated by using proper software. Then term ahead market. So this is also the same thing. Contract characteristics, delivery, action type, contract, trade availability, financial settlement. There are 5 different categories. Day ahead market already we explained. Intraday, day ahead, daily contract, weekly contract. So this is different. Day ahead contingency, not day ahead market. Day ahead contingency means if you supply power through this path, tomorrow whether any of the lines will be overloaded or not, that is found by day ahead contingency. And intraday contract, that can be done. So this term ahead market starts from 3 hours to 11 days. Similar to the day ahead market, but some features are different. So let us go to the next slide. This is a timeline diagram for DAM and TAM. And these are the steps involved in TAM. So first of all, you have to give the bits and bit validation, bit matching, SLDC, load dispatch center clearance obtained by member, state load dispatch center clearance obtained by member, margin collection, IEX receives SLDC clearance from member, IEX submits to nodal RLDC, RLDC acceptance, and final settlement. So, right. So till now what we have seen only the basics of Indian power market and what is the role of Indian Energy Exchange Limited and the role of power exchange generally, and the model what you are following in Indian power market we have given overview. Now Indian power market is current situation. Number one, India's electric power sector is now still struggling. One of the most damaging features of system is the inefficient market design. Number three, though we are saying that IEX is there, long-term bilateral power purchase agreement is still dominating. Long-term bilateral power purchase agreement, PPA, is still dominating. Nearly 87% of business or power procurement is based on PPA, right? While the National Power Exchange only makes up less than 1% of transaction. What is the cause? What is the effect of that point? This prevents efficient price discovery in the market. With discoms forced to buy expensive, not cheap power. And number two, financially stressed assets and renewable energy curtailment. So I want to emphasize the third point. 87% of power procurement is still happening based on bilateral power purchase agreement, that is long-term agreement. Example, some of the generators may have agreement with some consumers, and that agreement is valid for 25 years or 20 years or 10 years like that. And that long-term PPA is still dominating, and NPE does only less than 1%. And this leads to these three important effects. One, we are not able to get a good price discovery in the market. So discoms, distribution companies are forced to buy expensive power. Number two, financially stressed assets are increasing. We will explain it later. Renewable energy curtailment. So we are stopping power from renewable energy because of this. And first point, efficient price discovery in the market. To explain that, what is this efficient price discovery in the market? Because of this, currently India's state-owned utilities have nearly $5.7 billion outstanding in dues to power generators, right? So they have to give some money. That is, distribution companies are very much struggling, right, because of the money crisis. So particularly they have some overdue. And left side the table shows the outstanding dues of power utilities payable to CPSUs as on 31st January 2020. Almost all the states are there, right? So this is because of efficient price discovery in the market is not possible. Financially stressed assets. What does it mean? India also has approximately 66 gigawatt of financially stressed power assets, including largely coal, gas, and hydro, to the tune of $43.7 billion. Financially stressed asset 66 gigawatt. That means we are not able to use that particular asset, financially stressed asset. Why? This is due to lack of use because of range of issues, including number one, delayed payments by discoms and the current system of power procurement. Number three, right? And these stressed assets place a tremendous burden on India's financial system as banks and investors struggle to recuperate the cost. So those who are starting a new small private power project, right, they are not able to recover the cost because of the financially stressed asset. And some issues were there. I mean, due to the unavailability of coal or due to the uh, dispute, legal dispute on the coal mines, some companies they may not be able to run their plant. So some issues are there already in India. I think we heard in newspapers. This burden further increases the cost of new power projects. So if you start a new power project, it will increase the cost as the interest rates for loans for new projects is higher than the many other markets. As the interest rates for loans for new projects is higher than many other markets. So it affects the future power plants also. So this is the second point. Third point, what we have seen is renewable energy curtailment. Renewable energy curtailment, because it is a varying energy source. Varying energy source. So particularly states like Tamil Nadu, renewable energy curtailment has been as high as 50% in the past, and other state utilities also struggle to manage the variability of renewables and the energy demand. But what is the aim of our government? It is nearly 170 gigawatt they want to implement by 2022, and they want to implement 500 gigawatt of renewable energy based generation by the year 2030. So again and again this problem will be compounded. What is that renewable energy curtailment? Renewable energy curtailment, it is only because of the variable nature of the fuel, that is source, that is wind, solar. They are all variable with respect to varying with respect to time. And sometimes that particular state will be generating more power, but they are unable to give the power to nearby states through renewable energy source. Sometimes they are not able to predict the demand exactly, and they are not able to match up the power generation with the demand. So because of that, or sometimes their grid infrastructure is not good to pump the power into the grid. Renewable energy source, I mean the power generated by the renewable energy source is not fully pumped into the grid because of the poor grid infrastructure. So these are the three reasons for renewable energy curtailment. Though we have the strong aim of, strong objective to implement more amount of renewable energy based generation in India, we have to develop the sufficient grid strength first of all, and then prediction of demand exactly. Or if excess power is generated, then that is to be transmitted or sold to next nearby states. So for that kind of things, certain states are unable to cope up. So for in that aspect, many states are expecting the central government for some help. And in between, in the meantime, our central CERC, central government has given some amendment like renewable energy source based generation should be having must run status. Must run status. That means that private power producers should not stop their generation, right? So it has some issues to look into. So these three issues can be resolved, right? Only if you follow this recommendation, says your CERC, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, that is proposing the creation of national market for the purchasing of electricity from any generator, to maximize resource efficiency, bring down cost of power procurement, and reduce renewable energy curtailment. That means it is a national power market. You can sell power at any place, to any place. You can get power at any place, right? So if you do so, then resource efficiency will be improved, and it brings down the cost of power procurement, and it reduces the renewable energy curtailment. So benefits of national electricity market recommended by CERC. So if it is recommended, most important power sector reforms defined by Electricity Act of 2003 will be followed, and they would not only help address India's stressed power assets issue, but also help India to reduce renewable energy curtailment and inject more of this variable energy source into the grid. So wherever the potential is there, wind power potential, solar power potential, biomass potential, in any part of the country, you can start the generation, right? So after that, if you have a national power market, you can sell that same power to any state. Even Tamil Nadu, Kaithar station can sell power to Kashmir state. So that kind of things are possible only when if you have a national power market. And currently 87% of India's electricity is transacted through long-term PPA, as we already discussed. And to meet the majority of their daily power needs, DISCOMs self-schedule generation from the portfolio of generators, and remaining power is traded through bilateral transaction between utilities through power exchanges and traders. So this is a structure of national electricity market. DISCOM 1, DISCOM 2, DISCOM 3, DISCOM A, B, C, they have their own self-schedule, and whatever the power they want, they can get it from GENCO 1, GENCO 2, GENCO 3. And sometimes they are forced to select only within that zone. Now if you go for national power market, you can select GENCO of other zone also. Right. So the decentralized self-scheduled manner of power procurement, it has little visibility and therefore flexibility for DISCOMs to choose from cheaper generators from outside their portfolio. If this visibility is absent, then ability to accurately anticipate and adjust for future demand, variable generation sources like renewables are often curtailed. So we are opening, that is, we are going for open access, like the example what I said, even if you generate power in Tamil Nadu, you can sell power at any states. So that is the advantage of national electricity market. Now the structure of national electricity market should be in such a way that NEM, National Electricity Market, with day-ahead scheduling, real-time dispatch, and synchronized ancillary services. That means national electricity market should be coming along with the day-ahead market, day-ahead scheduling, real-time dispatch, and synchronized ancillary services procurement to give more effectively manage the power grid. So that is a expectation of CERC. Okay, already we know what is day-ahead market. Is a financial market where market participants purchase and sell electric energy at financially binding day prices following day. A day-ahead market would help least cost generators to sell their power across state lines. State to state they can transfer power to DISCOMs who would source unmet power needs outside their existing generation portfolio. It would also help to lower cost for DISCOM and consumer by converting a least cost option. So long-term power procurement will be, that can help long-term power procurement planning. Next one, real-time market. What is real-time market? Real-time market enables consumers, including distribution companies and the captive user, to buy a power on exchanges just an hour before delivery. So real-time market will make the power market dynamic as actions will be conducted every 30 minutes. There will be 48 action session during the day. 48 action session during the day. So what are the advantages of real-time market? First one, timely dispatch of scheduled power from generator to distribution company. Second one, it upholds sanctity of contracts for scheduled amounts of power. Third one, it allows generators to modify the contract. Earlier, the contract is very much, strictly followed. If any plus or minus power has to be added or subtracted, that cannot be done. But real-time market, it makes possibility. It gives possibility for that. And your contracts is highly reputed and followed in this real-time market. And timely dispatch is possible in the real-time market. So this real-time market, by narrowing the window, this proposal provides buyers and sellers an opportunity to correct any mismatch of demand and supply closer to delivery. It encourages them to improve their scheduling and forecasting abilities. And the last one, CERC says that you have to develop a national power market along with DAM and real-time market with the ancillary services. What is an ancillary service? Ancillary service, something like that, maintaining the voltage at a bus or improving the frequency at a bus, and they can be done with the help of some ancillary devices, ancillary services. So some other machines can be uh, applied there for improving the voltage level or for improving the frequency. Later we will disconnect them. So having sound ancillary service mechanism is important for markets with increasing amounts of variable energy resources such as India. Synchronizing these services with real-time day-ahead markets would ideally allow additional power producers. Why? To optimally dispatch their resources to mitigate in real time the possibility of power quality drop if large power producer went offline. So ancillary services very much useful, right? Because we have variable energy resources, right? Most of the time, because renewable energy sources are called as variable energy resources. Almost 87 gigawatt is being supplied by renewable energy sources. And what is the impact of renewable energy source? Because your fuel, that is wind is fluctuating in nature, and solar is also, it's not consistently arriving at your power, solar power plant. So now there will be a change in power generation, and because of the because of the fluctuation of fuel, and your output voltage and output frequency will be varying in nature. So to uh, compromise, to make it constant, right, we need the help of ancillary services, one. And another one is to optimally dispatch their resources. So for that, ancillary services will be the solution for us, right? So that means, as per CERC statement, we have to have a national power market with the day-ahead uh, market, real-time market, and ancillary services. Now let us recap the performance of India's power market uh, during the year 2018. First one, this slide deals with plus points. It is a robust growth in power sector in general and the power market in particular. Peak demand grew by 8%, and in energy terms, the growth was 6.5% in last year. And government initiative 24 by 7 power and power to all household by March 2019 has reached most people. Many states achieved more than 90% availability of power to its consumer. So these are the plus points in the year 2018. And what is the negative point? Negative side is a lack of coal supply. Because of that, some generation was affected. Right. So for that, what are the initiatives taken up by the government? So first one, implementation of UDAY. Already we discussed. It has improved the viability of distribution companies to buy more power to serve more customers. So typically, it improves cash with the discounts by more than 10%, and power purchase optimization save cost anywhere from 5% to 15% typically. And power for all scheme. So what is the effect of this scheme? The positive side is many of the villages, they are electrified, And the negative side is due to this scheme, many consumers were created. So because of that, the objectives of reducing losses to 15% by 2019 was largely hampered. It gave grid access to more customers, but in process increased losses. Discoms have not put in the same efforts in reducing losses except few like Delhi and Andhra Pradesh. So this is a slide already we have seen. Power for all. Finally, some of the amendments given to the Electricity Act 2003, that is distribution of subsidies through direct benefit transfer, mandate that 24/7 power supply is Discom's obligation, easy open access to industry, provide for regulations of forwards like futures and derivatives according to government's direction, consumer-centric initiatives provide smart prepaid meters to all consumers. So some of the amendments are given to the Electricity Act 2003 based on the performance, based on the initiative, based on the requirements defined earlier. Some of the CERC initiatives towards this 2018 performance. Number one, DSM and DAM prices has to be linked. Right? It was a welcome move to reduce reliance by Discoms on the grid for their misestimation of demand and contingent requirements. What is DSM? Demands and management prices. DAM, day at market prices. So these two are combined. This is a very nice initiative. And the second one is open access registry and real-time market have moved further to increase the market liquidity. And third one, ancillary service market. So that also improves the situation. Right? So with this, I think we are completing the assessment of India's power market performance and corresponding initiatives given by the government. Now, in future, way forward, and what are the things we are expecting from that, expecting to happen. So they are listed out here. And followingly, what are the hurdles, right? What are the hurdles in that process, and followed by conclusion. Number one, way forward. The time has now come when electricity, like any other commodity, should be fully deregulated and competitive. So in India, some of the states still, in some of the states, your electricity companies, that is generation, transmission, distribution companies, they are owned by the state. Just names are given as a private sector, but they are owned by the state. And some of the states, they fully, they opened their market for private companies. So major share is coming from private companies in some of the states. So on the whole, what we expect is for the entire country, we have to go for a national power market or national distribution center, and that will take over everything. Where electricity should be considered as a commodity, should be fully deregulated and competitive. If it is available in a competitive market, then you can purchase it at a lower price. At the same time, profit will be attained by the producers. Right. Second point, a majority of renewable energy transactions in the country are happening intrastate. So as we explained in the second section, if you have a lot of renewable energy generators in a particular state, you say Tamil Nadu, when the demand is very less, though the generation is very high, they are not able to supply to the nearby states. So that kind of things you have to encourage, right? And focus must be on increasing interstate transaction, as it would provide a wider market. Number three, separation of content and carriage should be implemented in spirit. Content and carriage is different, resulting in enhanced efficiency of distribution, retail supply business, reduction AT&C losses with cheaper power to consumers. That is, the losses, see, if you purchase a power 500 kilometer away, that is generated which is located 500 kilometer away, then who will take care of that losses? Suppose you are residing at Tuticorin, or if you are residing at Chennai, getting power from Tuticorin power plant, then nearly 800 kilometer length of transmission line. So who will take care of that, the losses? So that is very very important, and clearly defining the separation of content and carriage, right? So obviously that particular purchaser has to bear with the losses, and that kind of activities you got to be very clear. And the participation of short-term market transaction in the country have remained low at about 11 percentage, and it is continued below 10 percentage since past 10 years, continue to be under 10 percentage since past 10 years. So short-term market is not clearly defined, and most of the companies, they are not using this exchange concept. So it should be redefined, such as everybody can use it. And fifth one, for sustainable growth of the sector, what we can do, adding more renewable capacity, improve fuel supply chain for coal and gas plant, efficient utilization of existing capacity through smart portfolio optimization by state discoms in a long and short term. Long and short term, you have to create a smart portfolio optimization, right? Sustainable growth of the sector. And number six, power for all requires capacity addition in the country. That is simply defining the aim, power for all. So okay, we will do that. But who will generate it? So of course we have to plan it. We have to pre-plan for the generation. So capacity addition it needs. So for adding the capacity, I mean generation capacity, the main key is creating a competition between generators, power producers. So there is a key for implementing power for all, right? And next point is cross-border trade. Cross-border trade guidelines have been recently issued. The guidelines are favorable for cross-border transactions through exchanges. Things as of now have not been moving as fast in SAARC region as they are in BBIN, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal region. So geographically they are nearby and they are fully connected. So now cross-border trade guidelines will be applied for these four countries, and government to government and bilateral transactions on commercial basis is already happening. And ninth point, further, with more renewables in the grid, there is a need for robust mechanism to manage grid stability. If renewable energy source based generation is increasing, then we need a robust mechanism to manage the grid stability, because at any time you may lose the power from that side, or any time you may get a increase in power from that side. So grid stability will be affected. So for that we should be having a robust mechanism. And last point, many regulations such as redesigning of real-time market, ancillary services regulation, and linking of DSM prices with exchange prices have been proposed, which if implemented will help in absorbing more renewables in the grid. So renewable energy curtailment will be stopped. So we can sell power to nearby states, and the grid should be stronger. So these are the points they are pointing out. And when you suggest, when you are traveling towards those 10 points, what are the hurdles? First one, state governments and state-owned companies would need to be brought on board by the central government in order to pull off this fiat. All the appropriate operational pieces need to be aligned, including capacity of system operators to manage new software and much more detailed data. So if you want to have a national power market, first of all you got to get the consensus of all the states, and we should get the cooperation of them. That is the first point. Second point is we have to develop a new software in which all data, that is throughout India, all the power producers and all the consumers, they will be combined, they will be getting a place in that software. And that software, all the utilities should be able to manage the software, as well as the software is responsible for every action. And the third one is more complex challenge, that is a renegotiation of many of the long-term power purchase contract. So as we discussed, many of the purchase are happening only because of this long-term PPA. So renegotiation of the long-term power purchase should be done. right? Contracts between generators and discoms. And fourth point, finding some other mechanism to ensure that generators' investment are recuperated. At the same time, a tariff should not be modified for discom. At the same time, required quantity of power should be unassured. That means you should not, you should be able to give uninterrupted power supply, as well as the required amount of power should be given to the consumer. At the same time, as much as concerned, the tariff should not be increased. So we have to find another mechanism for the recovery, cost recovery, that is production cost recovery, right, on the generator side. So these are the hurdles. So with this, let's go to the conclusion. Conclusion: to aid in this effort, central government is executing a 6-month test, 6-month pilot test that will leverage all the centrally regulated interstate generating station and power system operation corporation POSACO and national system operator to see how least cost dispatch model would work in India. So it is a six-month experiment how least cost dispatch model would work in India, and the results of the pilot, in addition to the flood of comments from public and private sector stakeholder, will help refine CERC proposal. So we studied about the CERC proposal and recommendations, right? So that was done as an experiment for a period of 6 months. So that will be giving input for that will be giving me a lot of input for refining the CERC proposals. Number 2, while the reality is that the path for the implementation of these reforms is not simple, if implemented, a cohesive national electricity market will lead to a healthier, more resilient power grid. What we want actually, more resilient power grid that India needs. So only if you go for a national power market, national electricity market, that is possible. Number 3, these reforms alone will not fix India's power sector. Other reforms like tariff rationalization are required to rectify one of the major sector distortion hampering the growth of the sector. And number 4, however, a sound market will further aid the administration's new agenda, that is to mitigate center versus state power sector conflicts. That number 2, provide reliable quality power. Number 3, safely inject more renewable energy into the grid. Number 4, ready the sector for large-scale deployment of new technologies such as energy storage and smart meters. So particularly energy storage, we have to tell about. We got to discuss on energy storage devices at least for one or 2 minutes. That means the plenty of potential is available in wind as well as in solar, but when the demand is not matching with your power generation, at that time we have to concentrate on energy storing elements. If you are able to store much power, right, when the plenty of potential is available during daytime or during daytime in the case of solar system, or windy period in the case of wind energy conversion system, where you can store the power. You can store the power for some more time and you can utilize it, right, for the demand which will be, which might be increasing in future. Otherwise, we can give the power to the another state, nearby state. So energy storing devices, particularly smart grid environment, it is also very conducive environment for having a good power grid. Okay, so these are the references. Further reading you can refer. So with this, I am completing my presentation. If you have any query, then you can contact me through the mail ID bharati@scc.ac.in. And once again, I thank the management of Saint Mother Teresa Engineering College for the excellent opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of our management, I thank Dr. for sharing valuable pointers. I thank the participants for maintaining their patience, and thank you very much.